I love America, and I hate Bud Light because it's full of queers. Yeah, freedom! That was all.
So what does that mean? What did you just said?
What does freedom mean?
No, you said I hate Bud Light. Why do you hate Bud Light?
Well, because they cater all the wokeness and the not the un-American spirit.
What was un-American that they did?
The war for your mind. The agenda is no longer hidden, so why do they still obey? Hello, I am HASE Fiero. Frustration is knowing that the agenda is not hidden anymore, and yet the sheep are still obeying. These words are not just a statement. They are a reflection of a world where truth is no longer concealed, yet people refuse to see it. The question is no longer what is the agenda, but why do people continue to follow it, even when it stands in plain sight? This is nothing new. Throughout history, those in power have used control, deception, and psychological manipulation to shape public perception. But today, something has changed. The lies are no longer hidden. The tools of influence, biased news networks disguised as mainstream journalism, social media algorithms, influencer-driven propaganda, and partisan talk radio are all openly acknowledged.
You have to give some credit to the American people that they're somewhat intelligent and that they know the difference between an opinion show and a news show.
Yeah.
You're cynical. Look at that. Yeah.
I am cynical because,
You think we're bad for America? You think
Yeah.
I'm bad for America?
Yeah.
You do?
In the long haul, I think you
Really?
and all these opinion
That's
shows.
sad, Ted.
No, you know why?
That's sad.
Because you're very good at what you do, and because you have attracted a significantly
You
more
are selling the
influential.
American
let me
people
finish the
short.
Let me finish the sentence
I'm
before
listening.
you do that.
With all due respect.
Yes,
Take the floor.
you have attracted people who are determined that ideology is more important than facts.
I'll tell you, everybody in our industry today, unfortunately, I've said journalism is dead. We have an information crisis in the country.
You've said journalism is dead.
I believe that.
Do you think it can be revived? And what'll it take?
That's a really interesting question. And I say this with all due respect and a compliment to you and your work during the Iranian hostage crisis. I don't really believe it can.
You're absolutely right. We are stuck in an ideological rut. And programs like yours, popular as they are, haven't helped. And I
Disagree.
I said the same thing to
I
O'Reilly,
disagree.
and I've said the same thing of Rachel Maddow's program.
I disagree with you.
Do you?
Yes, because Americans know Sean Hannity is a conservative.
Yeah.
There's no pretense here. I'm not Ted Koppel.
Right.
I am a person, it's branded. This is a conservative show.
Yeah.
Do you think there are many people in America that don't know I have a point of view that's conservative or that Rachel is a liberal?
That's not my point.
So that's the editorial page of a newspaper. Do you against the editorial pages?
No, I'm against the editorial pages taking over from the front page.
Okay, that's a good response.
I'm against the editorial page becoming the economic engine, the economic engine of the network.
And yet, people continue to listen, follow, and comply without question. How did we reach this point? How is it playing out right now? And most importantly, how do we break free? History is filled with moments where people blindly followed, even when the truth was clear. The Roman Empire kept its citizens pacified with bread and circuses, distracting them from corruption and decline. The people saw the rot, yet they accepted it because questioning the system meant stepping into uncertainty. The Nazi regime used propaganda to shape reality, despite mounting evidence that the path was leading to destruction. Many citizens knew, but fear, social pressure, and cognitive dissonance kept them compliant. The Cold War era was built on manufactured narratives, where governments controlled perception to maintain power. The public suspected the deception, yet obedience continued because the alternative, questioning authority, was too dangerous. Every time, the signs were there. The agenda was visible. And yet, the masses obeyed. Now we stand in a new era of control, but this time it is not through emperors or dictators. It is through algorithms, narratives, and engineered division. How it applies now. The illusion of choice. You believe you are free, but every decision is subtly influenced. Your newsfeed, your recommended content, your conversations, They are all shaped by unseen hands. The agenda is not hidden. It is embedded in everything you consume. The weaponization of fear. They no longer need to enforce control through direct oppression. They make you afraid of stepping out of line. Fear of cancellation, fear of exclusion, fear of losing comfort. These are the chains of the modern world. The division strategy. They do not need to silence dissent when they can make the masses fight each other. They pit people against one another, left versus right, race versus race, nation versus nation, while they consolidate power in the shadows. The digital prison. Surveillance is not hidden anymore. Your data is collected, your thoughts are predicted, and your actions are shaped before you even make them. And yet, people continue to give away their privacy, accepting the cage as a convenience. The agenda is clear. The mechanisms are not hidden, and yet obedience continues. Why? The psychological chains. Why they still obey? Cognitive dissonance. People see the contradictions, but accepting the truth means acknowledging that they were deceived. The mind resists this realization because it threatens identity and security. The comfort trap. Freedom requires responsibility, risk, and uncertainty. Most prefer the illusion of safety over the reality of struggle. They accept control because it is easier than rebellion. Social conditioning. From birth, institutions shape obedience. Schools train compliance, media engineers thought, and corporations demand conformity. Questioning the system means unlearning everything you were taught. The normalization of lies. When deception becomes the standard, truth feels radical. The more people are exposed to manipulation, the harder it becomes to recognize it. They obey, not because they do not see, but because seeing means they must act. The consequences of ignoring this truth. A world without individual thought. The more people surrender their critical thinking, the more the system dictates what is true, what is acceptable, what is reality. Total surveillance and digital tyranny. If you accept that your thoughts can be tracked, filtered, and controlled, you will eventually accept that your actions can be dictated too. Perpetual division. A society consumed by infighting cannot unite against the real enemy, the elites who benefit from the chaos. The death of free will. If people do not reclaim control of their minds, they will exist only as biological machines, programmed by external forces. Make no mistake, this is not a theory, this is happening right now. Breaking free, how to resist the programming. Step 1, acknowledge reality. Stop pretending the system works for you. Stop making excuses for the lies. See the manipulation for what it is. Step 2, control your input. They control you through information. Curate your own reality. Question every source. Seek knowledge outside mainstream channels. Step 3, reclaim your mind. Your thoughts are your power. Develop critical thinking. Do not react impulsively to narratives designed to provoke you. Step 4, disconnect from the system. Break the addiction to distractions, to digital control, to engineered division. Reconnect with real people, real conversations, real thought. Step 5, unite against the true enemy. The fight is not against your neighbor, your colleague, or those who think differently. The real war is against those who profit from your division and compliance. Final thought. The time to wake up is now. The agenda is no longer hidden. The mechanisms of control are out in the open. So ask yourself, who benefits from my obedience? Why am I being told to hate my neighbor instead of questioning those in power? What happens if I refuse to play their game? You are not a sheep, you are not a pawn, but only if you choose to wake up. Follow information-warfare.com to learn how to resist manipulation and reclaim your mind.